now I guess because here's what I didn't directly ask you yet. RH out here actively so hard, like campaigning for it suddenly, kind of pivoting, doing a 180, which we've seen him do many times over the last couple of years. Like there's a lot of people who are like, act like this is something new. Like we saw the launch of pump tires and stuff like that. There's been a lot of kind of, I hate this in politics. They'll call it like flip flopping if you change your opinion. I think it's actually good if you're observing the market as Richard is, who we perceive to be a very smart guy, and he's changing his opinion on certain things, or maybe just seeing how terrible Ethereum is, frankly, and seeing that we might need other things to help us with a leg up. So I don't ever really blame somebody for changing their worldview or opinion on something. But what do you make of Richard suddenly? I mean, it was literally months ago that we talked. He tweeted about how horrible exchanges are, basically, and now he's wanting these. So.
Well, we know he changes his worldview. He did it with Bitcoin and said Ethereum's better. And that's why people didn't like him for the longest time, because he hurt a bunch of people's feelings. He is a smart guy. He knows when to pivot. He probably understands that if we want adoption, and I love the DeFi aspect. We always say, listen, man, it's opportunity. People can't get it as easy. You got to be a little more knowledgeable to do this. Right now is opportunity cost, and sometimes those prices get pretty low, and it's pretty painful. I get it. But he obviously has pivoted. Now, one thing I don't think he has pivoted on is saying, that he still wants these guys to buy their own. He wants them to, and any exchange has the option to do that. Like you said, they'll list Portnoy's tokens. Well, they buy those. They buy those off the market and they fund their own account. But they know the mass quantity of trades that happen. It's going to be worth it to them to do that, right? They don't know that about Pulse Chain. They don't know that yet, or they don't want to take that risk. To them, it's not worth the risk of purchasing a bunch of coins and having them just sit there. Then they're stuck with coins where, they would much rather have somebody fund the account and have the liquidity there. Now, if you get on a smaller account like exchange like MEXC or something tier 2, I know Richard's not really a fan of that because they do get hacked more often, and the money gets stolen, and then it just gets dumped anyway. So you really have to be careful of that. But if you can generate enough on a tier 2, a high tier 2, maybe the other people will notice and try to capture some of that market. You got to start somewhere. I don't think that we're just going to go, hey, Binance, list us, and they're going to say, okay.
Right.
Now, OKX, we had a listing with them, I do believe, at the very beginning with Hex.
Yes. Yeah.
Would they reinstate that? I don't know. They're one of the larger accounts. Would be nice. Bitstamp was also for sale. Is there somebody going to buy that? Maybe.
You mean BitMEX?
That's BitMEX. Right? I'm sorry. BitMEX is the one that was for sale, not Bitstamp.
Was that Arthur? That was Arthur Hayes', I believe. I think that was his exchange. Yeah,
I do believe.
And that's what I was just going to bring up. Like they are apparently looking for a buyer, quote unquote. And that was going to lead me to the next part: is would Richard ever? First off, I imagine he has the resources to do it, but would it be worth it actually to buy an exchange, start his own of some kind? I mean, what do you make of those ideas too?
Well, and that's kind of where I was going. I said I think it's a fantastic idea. If you can onboard, if you can get a exchange license that's good worldwide, I mean, what better thing to do? He's always said it. Who makes the most money? Well, founders, holders, and exchanges. Those are the ones that make the money. And I think it's a fantastic idea. Does it put an even bigger target on his head? Probably. Does he care? I doubt it. I don't think he really cares at this point. He's already got red notices. But I'm sure how much worse can it be, right? And do you do you just create the situation where you become a CZ and now you're wanted by all these agencies? Um, I don't know. I think it's a great idea. Again, I don't know the intricacies of it and what kind of bigger target it would put on his head. Is it worth it? I don't know. Could he do some sort of foundation that would buy it? And he's pretty good at that type of thing. If he wanted to be behind a guarded wall of some sort, that could do it and be in a country where there's no extradition, no whatever. But then can you get it into all countries where it's important, right? Can you
Mhm.
get it into the United States? Can you, because a lot of times they won't be accepted in the States when they get behind those walls. So I don't know. I think it's a great idea, but again, you've got to start somewhere. And I
Yeah.
just don't think, Binance, Coinbase, Kraken has already denied it. If they get enough people submitting applications, they may reconsider, but we've got to be somewhat cordial to them, um, and and try to extend the olive branch. I guess I don't know what more to do.
What I think is important and what is clear from that Corey Costa and Pano stream today, which I did put the link to that in the chat if you guys want to check it out because it is fantastic, is I think there's clearly just miscommunications, as is usually the issue when
Sure,
there's fighting. I mean, look, I don't think either of us are exceptionally dumb or anything like that. I mean, if you were an onlooker and saw, okay, it looks like our community raised an amount of money. Maybe it wasn't us personally, so how much of a right do we have to bitch? But raised an amount of money to get a listing on MEXC, and then they, what seems frivolously to us, pull it one day, which really is their right to be able to do, and we all flip out about it, not knowing any intricacies basically of
yeah,
what all that money was or anything like that. Also, like the precedences of like we talked about with Ripple being delisted and stuff like that. I think it's helpful. It's really cool. I think that Panos was able to kind of elaborate on that. And like you said, he even admitted himself that when they asked for more money, he's like, what is this about? And to his credit, he really wasn't vitriolic to them immediately. He just kind of put it out there to everybody, like, what do you make of this? And then, of course, we all are going to get like that. But it's because we also don't know the inner workings of it either. So I don't think MEXC should let that affect like their overall opinion of it, but also if their main way of advertising and stuff like that is on social media platforms, I also understand, being hesitant to do that. So, um, it is what it
yeah,
is. And I think what will happen is whatever fits our right as we get further into the bull market here, they will take place. I mean, wherever a listing will fit, whatever it makes sense relationship wise, that'll just be it. But I mean, clearly, like Panos, it reminded me almost of like judge and jury, basically. Like what he said today was, the exchanges want to make money off the trade fees. That's what's really matters. So I think like a lot of this like vitriol on Twitter and stuff like that is nowhere near as paramount as like them knowing the money that they're going to make. That's
right,
really what they want to know, which makes total sense,
right.
and
Sure.
I respect that. So
I get
anyway,
that too.
yeah.
Digital Money Marcus brings up a comment that was also part of something else. Maddie mentioned the Sens Foundation whole issue where they had a free airdrop because they had some money that was sent through their on Coinbase when the Sens Foundation had their address for donations before the sacrifice. Um, they I think gave a canned response. I don't believe it was anything as bullish as people thought it may be.
Hmm.
All it basically stated was, we understand you have some coins that were on another chain, and if we decide to launch it, you'll be notified as soon as we do, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I think that was a very canned response to anybody that says, "Hey, I didn't get this airdrop because you don't support it, but my coins were over here and you owe me that money." Well, this was a very large sum of money. $27 million is a fair amount. Now, I don't know how much of that was on chain at the time of the of the release, the airdrop, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Um, but there was some, I'm sure. So again, I don't think that's as bullish as it was initially came off, because somebody else had said, yeah, we got the same response when we asked about X coin or whatever it was. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, my hope was that Richard's case would somehow cause some sort of precedent that Coinbase could use and win. And it would have been a nice little story for them to say, well, Richard did us a favor. Now we're going to do him a favor, and list at least one or two of the pulse chain coins. But that didn't happen, obviously. So
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that. I think that message was just a stock thing. I think it's just like if you send something to a network and they don't support it now, that's just what they're going to say. I think people read into that way too much. But
yeah,
we're gonna have to just wait and see how this thing plays out. And I do think it's kind of silly. I get what DJ and Moonboy's saying. Social media is always going to be toxic. That's the difficult part. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're an exchange that isn't maybe the Krakens, the Coinbases, the Binances of the world, and it's like if you are just blaming like social media sentiment from a group of people on a listing or not, that seems honestly seems silly to me, which is why I really believe what we said earlier about how much money is in it for us. What are we going to make off the trading
right.
transactions? I think that's what they really care about, So
Yep.
we'll see how this movement goes on. But I mean, the great thing about this community that is it's so grassroots, and there are going to be people out there making those efforts and stuff like that and trying to, cross bridges with some of these people and things. So we shall
Well,
see.
who would have known that somebody like Panos has been in contact with many exchanges, right? I mean,
Right.
I don't think anybody knew that before,
Right.
or would have said, "Hey, dude, go talk to these people for us. We didn't know you had connections. We didn't know you were involved with a company that did this all the time."
Right.
So, you know, those are good things to know. And I don't know that he's ever mentioned it. I have never seen Panos on stream before, so
Yeah.
that was good to know. And when people have these type of ties, I know it's not something you want to advertise, because then possibly you get taken advantage of. You get all these people sending you DMs and this to do this or that or whatever. But it, the, the the community is so large now that we do have a lot of people that do have ties in places. Before we start bitching and complaining, we probably need to reach out and see who the best person is, rather than just
Mhm.
send the whole community after them and light a
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what we should remember is it's also them wanting to be educated on what are they going to make in the deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More than like
Yep.
what are people acting like on social media. But either way, highly, highly can't recommend enough. I thought it was super enlightening. The Corey Costa stream with Panos today. Please do check that out. I thought it was awesome. So